Thanks for joining us for this emergency press conference. I am Davia Chambers, Press Secretary attached to the Office of the Chief Secretary. Now, the Tobago House of Assembly and the Water and Sewerage Authority, or WASA, have convened this press briefing to address the vandalism which occurred at 4 critical water infrastructure sites in Tobago, namely Arnesvale Well Number 4, Bacalet Well Number 3, Bloody Bay Well Number 1, and Claude Noel Highway Well. In the words of Honorable Fali Augustine, Chief Secretary, who issued a statement last night, these are not merely acts of petty theft. They represent a direct attack on the island's essential services, resulting in a daily loss of 2.1 million gallons of water per day, which has caused immediate and severe disruptions in some areas. So, to provide a full update on the technical impact, the investigation, the emergency restoration plan, I'm joined this morning by Assembly Member Ricky Jofield. Of course, he's our Secretary of Housing, Settlements and Public Utilities, the Chief Executive Officer of WASA, Dion Maharaj, Mr. Brian Williams, Head of the Tobago Region WASA, and Ms. Christy Ramnarine, Head of Corporate Communications, also at WASA. So at this time, I invite Secretary Jofield to address us.
Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And might I say happy Palm Sunday, and also I would like to extend greetings to our Baptist community on Shouter Baptist Liberation Day. I am Assembly Member Ricky Jofield, Secretary with Oversight for Public Utilities in the Tobago House of Assembly in the Division of Housing, Settlements and Public Utilities. I wish to address the unfortunate situation involving vandalism to 5 of our major water supply facilities in what appears to be a series of coordinated incidents which has impacted water distribution to several communities across the island of Tobago. We recognize the impact this is having on households and families across Tobago. I was also on the ground yesterday with officials from WASA, personally visiting these sites and gaining a personal insight, first-hand insight into the situation. This is a very serious situation, and we are treating with the utmost urgency that it requires. Officials of WASA, the Water and Sewerage Authority, contacted me early yesterday morning, mainly Mr. Maharaj and Mr. Brian Williams here. We subsequently met at WASA's head office in Lowlands to have a briefing on the matter. I also advised them to move swiftly to assess the damage and initiate response operations. I also visited affected sites with WASA officials, as I said. Preliminary assessments indicated that the facilities have sustained major damage, which is currently being fully evaluated by technical teams. I allowed the WASA team to provide further information on technical details as we go further. I have been assured by WASA that urgent restoration works is on the way. Interim measures, including truck-borne water supply, where necessary, have been activated to support affected communities while full repairs are on the way. This matter has been reported to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and relevant authorities. WASA has also indicated that additional measures are being implemented to strengthen security at these critical water infrastructure sites to prevent further incidents. At this juncture, I would also like to stress on the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for their support in securing these sites along with us. We are mindful that this distribution affects not just households, but essential services and businesses across the island. The Division and the Tobago House of Assembly understands the inconvenience this had caused to residents and families across the island of Tobago. We ask for your continued patience as the emergency team work to restore reliable water supply as quickly as possible. We will continue to monitor the situation closely and provide updates as more information becomes available. I also want to add that the Tobago House of Assembly strongly condemns this heinous act of vandalism to public utilities, mainly WASA, because water is an essential part of Tobago. As the Chief Secretary indicated last night in his release, I also am deeming this as an act of local, or let me say domestic terrorism to the citizens of Tobago. At this juncture, I will hand over to the officials at WASA so they can give you technical details concerning this matter.
Thank you, Secretary Joe Field. So at this time, we'll hand you over to Ms. Christy Ramnarine, Head of Corporate Communications at WASA, to take you through WASA's reports. Ms. Ramnarine.
Thank you, Ms. Chambers. And just to reiterate what the Assemblyman was saying, the Water and Sewerage Authority strongly condemns the recent acts of vandalism and theft carried out against critical water infrastructure across Tobago. On Saturday, 28th March 2026, WASA personnel discovered that several of its facilities had been deliberately targeted and damaged. Power cables were maliciously cut and stolen from the following locations: Arnesvale Well Number 4, Bacolay Well Number 3, the Claude Noel Highway Wells, Bloody Bay Water Tank, and Bloody Bay Well Number 1. Earlier in the week, similar theft was also reported at our Lowlands facility. As a direct result of these actions, WASA has suffered a production loss of approximately 2.1 million gallons of water per day. This disruption is already affecting several communities across Tobago and, of course, the citizens who came across to enjoy this beautiful long weekend on the island. The matter is now under police investigation, and WASA is working closely with law enforcement authorities to support all efforts to identify and bring those responsible to justice. Thank you.
So at this time, we will accept questions from members of the media.
Before we go ahead with the questions, we'll now invite WASA CEO Jane Maraj to give some more information on, what transpired here in Tobago over the weekend.
Sure. Good morning, Tobago persons, Trinidad and Tobago by extension, THA Secretary to Public Utilities, Mr. Joe Field. Good morning to everyone. WASA also is working in close coordination with the THA to respond to this situation and to ensure that restoration and security efforts are effectively implemented across the island. WASA reiterates to the public that vandalism of public property is a serious criminal offense. Under the Summary Offences Act and the Malicious Damage Act, individuals found guilty of damaging public infrastructure are liable to significant fines and imprisonment. In response, the authority has increased its security presence at key facilities and has activated a vandalism hotline at 465-2949. We urge members of the public to report any suspicious activity near our WASA installations. A comprehensive tour of all affected facilities was conducted yesterday, and I want to thank Honorable Chief Mr. Fally as well as Mr. Joe Field for coordinated efforts. Mr. Joe Field spent the entire day with our WASA team looking at the facilities, ensuring that we got the assistance from all sectors, TNTech, as well as the police services. And we did whilst they did a thorough investigation before we can go in to assess the damages, which concluded late yesterday evening. An interim water distribution schedule is being developed to help mitigate the impact on affected communities, and it will be communicated shortly. These acts of vandalism not only damage infrastructure, but they also disrupt lives. They affect homes, businesses, healthcare services, and the wider economy. We regret the inconvenience caused to our Tobago people, and we thank our customers for their patience and understanding as restoration efforts continue. We also call on all citizens to remain vigilant. Protecting our national infrastructure is a shared responsibility. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Maharaj. So now we will accept questions from members of the media. Due to the nature of this briefing, we will only accept 2 questions per media house, and we're kindly asking you to limit your questions to the infrastructure crisis and the response. Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News. Just wanted to know if at these various wells that were jeopardized, are there CCTV cameras in the vicinity to assist in terms of the investigation? And Mr. Jofield and also the CEO, if we can find out if WASA and also the Tobago House of Assembly, were you as entities surprised by this situation that occurred?
So we'll take the first question first. I'll ask our Tobago representative, head of Tobago, Mr. Brian Williams, to take the first question in terms of whether or not there were CCTV cameras.
Pleasant good morning to Tobago, to Trinidad and Tobago, the listening public, and the wider world who we are now sharing this discussion with. At this point, the short answer is no. At the facilities that were vandalized, there are no cameras which would have allowed us to pick up any evidence that would have spoken to what would have transpired. Notwithstanding, one of the outcomes of the interaction yesterday, the meeting that was held between the THA and the Chief Executive Officer with the Tobago team, the discussions along the lines of looking at accelerating a WASA plan of having a virtual guard implemented across all the stations in Trinidad and Tobago. Discussions, so the whole process that it was brought on the table again yesterday, and we are ensuring that we put all the things that are required in place to ensure that we are in a better place to meet and treat with any challenge such as this in the future. So no, we don't have, but yes, the discussion has been opened with a view to having that process which is on the table to accelerate with a view to ensuring that we have that kind of coverage.
And Secretary Jofield, Elizabeth asked if you were surprised by the acts of vandalism.
Of course, I was surprised by the acts of vandalism. This is not something that we expect any person, any human being, to attempt to even execute on Tobago or even anywhere in the world. As I indicated, this is very close to domestic terrorism, because acts against our public utilities don't only affect one sector of the community, but it affects everyone in Tobago. So yes, I was surprised that someone even think about doing this to the citizens of Tobago.
Stefan Nicholas, Guardian Media Limited. Good morning, Stefan.
Morning, Stefan Nicholas, Guardian Media. I just want to find out, it was described as major damage, given that we are in the Easter season. How long would it take to restore full supply to those 17 areas, I think, affected? And also, are there any measures right now, given that it has been described as borderline domestic terrorism, to protect other public infrastructure?
For the question, CEO Dean Maraj will take the first part of it.
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Nicholas. Again, measures are being put in place to address the issues that would have occurred. So to answer your question, yes, we are putting measures in place to ensure that this hasn't wouldn't be reoccurred moving forward.
Stefan, just to clarify, what type of infrastructure are you speaking about in terms of making sure we put things in place? Is it WASA infrastructure?
No, it was other infrastructure as for Mr. Joe Field,
Okay,
Assemblymember Joe.
not just WASA.
thank you.
Okay, so at the Division of Housing, Settlements and Public Utilities, we are deemed with the responsibility of oversight of public utilities in Tobago. In terms of these measures, the immediate measure that we can provide is that I'm in close communication with the TTPS. I want to say a personal thanks to ACP Bacchus, who was, for her very effective and efficient response when I called on her yesterday to this matter. In terms of security measures going forward, we will continue discussions with the personnel at WASA to see where we can come to a decision to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Stefan also asked, how long will it take to restore full supply?
Mr. Williams answer that question.
Morning again, Stefan. As we speak, morning again, Stefan. As we speak, restoration works are ongoing, and the organization and the team have committed to not stopping our activities until they are completed. It is expected that over the next couple of days, all the works will be completed, notwithstanding there will be a lag between the completion of the works and the restoration of supply by virtue of the nature how the hydraulics associated with the transmission, distribution, and delivery of water goes. Notwithstanding, it is expected that midweek, the majority of the areas across Tobago should have returned, the work to be completed, and the service, the levels of service will be restored to close to where they were before then. And as that happens and it unfolds, we have the schedules that speak to the mitigating against the shortfall in supply. They will be published shortly, and they will be updated on an as and when to ensure that, coupled with the delivery of the chalkborne water supply, that the negative effects will be as minimal as possible until return of the regular scheduled service. Hope that answers your question, Stefan.
Mr. Maharaji wanted to add a point?
Yes.
Sure.
Also, in collaboration with Mr. Joe Field, we would have made a decision that moving forward until the passing of the holidays, the Easter has commenced, we would continue to beef up security efforts and also try to increase our modem of delivering truckborne water supply to those affected to ensure that we have continuity at least up to the end of the holiday, to make sure, and for WASA and by extension the THA, to be vigilant, a bit more vigilant in looking at our facilities to ensure that this doesn't occur over this period.
Jewel Green, Tobago Updates.
Yes, good morning, everyone. In terms of the security for our public utilities, could the Secretary Joe Field, could you give us an overview of what security protocols were in place before this happened? Somebody asked about security cameras, but I am interested in terms of how easy it was for somebody to be able to go in and to damage the facilities, as well as I'm interested in asking about the contamination, if any contamination has been done to the water supply, apart from the structural damage. Has any contamination been verified? And has the other WASA installations and facilities also been checked as well? And if you could just make sure you give us an overview of what the security protocols were before this happened?
Thank you, Jewel. I think your questions are for the WASA technical officials.
I would like to go first before our CEO and Mr. Williams chimes in. It may have looked easy, but it was definitely well coordinated. This was no random, stealing of a line. We know that the scrap iron industry or sector is vibrant. You have people who thief brass fittings, they're thieving the copper. It happens in Trinidad as well, and that's why these wires are so important for some. But what we saw yesterday is a well-coordinated effort to literally dismantle several WASA facilities in the country. This is not an ordinary job. So I'm going to hand over to our CEO, who's going to further share some information.
Sure, thank you very much, Christy. Again, to reiterate, it was a well-coordinated, planned activity due to the nature of the wells that were targeted. We can also say these were some high-producing wells in key locations. So from looking at it, we can safely say that, and the timeline that this occurred, that this was a very planned, coordinated effort. We have at WASA our operations team, our operators, and they would usually make their visits to these facilities in a timely manner. These activities would have been occurred like between 11 and 3 a.m. because our visit to those facilities would end at a shift at 11. They would have made their rounds, and at 3 a.m., these activities were discovered at these locations. Right, so I can now pass you on for some further data to our head of Tobago, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, CEO. If you would allow me, I'd like to start with the last question first that spoke to the contamination at our storage facilities. I felt and I feel as important, so I'll lead with that. In our consultative meetings that we had, it came up, and what the outcome was that the Quality Control Department has been dispatched as early as this morning, starting with the Bloody Bay tank, which was directly affected. There was approximately 10 feet of water in the tank, and this morning, they would have gone to that location first to check and ensure that the quality of the water was not compromised in any way prior to attempting to utilize the supply to send out to the public. In furtherance of this attempt to ensure that the quality wasn't compromised, because the thing about the vandalism is that the possibilities are endless, and the price of freedom for us has to be eternal vigilance. And to that end, what we decided is that the quality control team will work continuously across the balance of the weekend, checking all our other storage facilities to ensure that nothing else, to mitigate against the possibilities of anything untoward. So that process is ongoing, and in keeping with Head Christie and Ms. Webster's mandate to communicate and to share, the information will be shared as and when it becomes available in terms of the safety, the ability of the water to be consumed. The other part of the question, part two of the question, spoke to the securing of the security protocols. In my response to one of the questions by one of the earlier media houses, the organization has taken a policy in the recent past, which we are actively pursuing, to increase the virtual security as it relates to cameras and off-site personnel and infrastructure to ensure that we have continuous monitoring and surveillance and the ability to be flagged and tagged key personnel as and when we have violations of the perimeter with respect to the areas of focus. Right? As the CEO would have said, these processes are ongoing, and I think that is as much as embellishment as I would like to give to that, but notwithstanding, the answer is yes. There are processes that are in place and ongoing to ensure. And what this has done for us is that it has accelerated the movement towards completion in the Tobago space as they work towards ensuring that the entire WASA space has the necessary coverage as it relates to securing of assets and that it should. I hope that answers your question.
So we'll take one more question per media house. I'm seeing Elizabeth's virtual hand is raised. Elizabeth, you can proceed to pose your question. Elizabeth?
Yes, I was just unmuted. Oh my, I'm sorry.
It's okay,
I was
no
just
problem.
unmuted, sorry. I don't know if it was said before. Just wanted to know in terms of the overall cost to WASA with respect to this and the intervention of the Tobago House of Assembly. Just the overall cost that we can know, and also any suspicions as to how this might have been committed. Anyone that has any grievance with WASA at all, or who was recently fired, in terms of suspicions as to who might have committed such an act, because we are looking also at October and the upcoming Tobago Carnival. We don't want a situation like this reoccurring that could affect tourists who visit the island.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth. In terms of suspicions, we'll leave that for the police. The police was there yesterday doing their part, and in terms of any investigation into what transpired, the police will make a statement. WASA will not be making a statement on anything related to the police investigation. In terms of the cost, I'll have CEO take that question.
Sure. Thank you again, Christy. Again, myself, together with the WASA team and Mr. Joefield, we would have worked way into the night last night, assessing the damages and so. So a material listing would have been brought forward in terms of what is required to bring these facilities back to operation. Again, we would have beefed up our security as well. So in order to get the final costing of this activity, we'll need to collate everything. So at this point in time, we are not able to provide a costing as to where we at. But again, we are really trying to mitigate this situation. Firstly, to ensure that we bring back water to the people in the immediate to the Tobago people. And then, whilst doing that, we will finalize our cost and get back to you.
So we will take the final two questions from Joel Green, Tobago Updates. Joel?
Thank you, Davia. In terms of the truck-borne supply, we're hearing that there's just one truck available to supply water at this time. Could you give us an indication of how many trucks are in the fleet currently in Tobago on the ground to supply water, minimize the disruption that has already happened, and will trucks be coming up from Trinidad to supplement this truck-borne water distribution?
Okay, thank you for your question. No, that's not accurate. There are 3 trucks available. Giselle, you could probably give me the number to share in terms of 850. 639 6850. So this is correct?
639-6850.
Right? So the number to call if you need truck-borne water, it's 639-6850, and there are 3 trucks currently working in that area.
So I am seeing Joel's virtual hand is still raised. Do you have another question, Joel? If you do, we'll just accept one
Yes,
more.
the question. Yes, I did ask a question in terms of will trucks be coming up from Trinidad to supplement? That wasn't responded to.
We'll have the CEO respond to that part of the question.
Sure. to mitigate what has occurred, we are actually sourcing further trucks from Tobago so that we can mitigate against this in a faster manner. If we have to get these trucks procured from Trinidad to come to Tobago, it will take some time. We are looking to bring immediate relief to the people of Tobago. So we are trying to put together what we have in Tobago to give that immediate support.
So I am not seeing any more raised virtual hands. So thank you, members of the media, for your questions. As emphasized today, the Tobago House of Assembly and the Water and Sewerage Authority remain committed to restoring full service to the affected communities in Tobago. On that note, this concludes today's emergency briefing. Please stay tuned to WASA's official channels for further updates on the restoration schedule and the issue. Thank you so much for joining us, viewers. Thank you, presenters, and thank you, members of the media. I'm Davia Chambers. Do enjoy the remainder of your Sunday.